Hey, he's down. You don't look at people like me. The words cut through the dining room, sharp enough to stop forks mid-air. Crystal glasses hovered inches above the table. Ryan Cole stood frozen beside table 12, a folded napkin in his hand, feeling every stare land on his back at once. Across from him, the woman in the tailored blazer leaned back in her chair, smiling, not because she was amused, but because she was certain she could do whatever she wanted. Ryan swallowed. He'd learned that silence paid the rent. Silence bought asthma medication. Silence kept food on the table for his 7-year-old daughter waiting at home. "I'm just here to help, ma'am," he said quietly. She laughed. Loud. Deliberate. "Help," she repeated, eyes scanning him like damaged furniture. "You're a waiter. Know your place." A few guests shifted. No one intervened. Money had already chosen a side. Ryan felt it then. The old instinct tightening in his chest, the one he'd buried years ago when he walked away from another life. He forced his hands to stay loose. Forced his voice to stay calm. Because one mistake here wouldn't just cost him a job. It would cost his daughter everything. The woman stood up. "Say something," she challenged, stepping closer. "Or is this all you're good for?" Ryan met her eyes for the first time. And in that second, before the kick, before the silence shattered, everyone in the room realized they had misjudged the wrong man. Like the video. Subscribe to Canada's Heartfelt Tales. Because what happened next changed every life in that room. And it all started with one insult too many. The moment Victoria stepped closer, the restaurant lights seemed to sharpen around her, reflecting off the marble like they were staging the confrontation for an invisible audience. Ryan didn't move, didn't blink. Every instinct inside him warned that the evening was tilting into territory he had spent years avoiding. But the room had already locked him into place. Tables quiet, servers stalled mid-step, diners pretending not to watch yet hanging on to every breath. Victoria's heel clicked once, crisp and deliberate, before she spoke again. "You going to stand there and stare at me?" she said. Her voice low enough to sound controlled but loud enough for the room to hear. "Or do you actually plan on doing your job?" Ryan kept his hands at his sides. "Ma'am, I asked what you needed." "What I need," she said, leaning in until he caught a faint scent of expensive perfume, "is someone competent. If that's too much for you, I'll be sure to let management know." Her smile was cold. Practiced. The kind of smile used to remind people like him that they could be replaced in one breath. From behind the bar, Sophie whispered to Marcus. "She's pushing him on purpose." Marcus muttered back. "If he reacts, he's finished." But Ryan didn't react. He only stepped back half an inch, a gesture that was more habit than fear, a trained reflex from a world he no longer lived in. Victoria mistook restraint for weakness. Her voice rose again. "Look at me when I'm talking to you." He lifted his eyes, calm, steady. It wasn't defiance. It was exhaustion. And that tiny moment, his refusal to shrink, ignited something reckless in her. "There it is," she said quietly, almost in triumph. "That attitude. Acting like you're above the job. Acting like you're someone." A murmur swept through the room, soft but noticeable, as if the diner sensed the shift from rude entitlement to something uglier. Victoria straightened. "Tell me, do you enjoy being a disappointment? Or is it just all you know?" Ryan felt the words land, not because they hurt him but because they were aimed at the wrong target. She didn't know about Emma. She didn't know about the nights he ate leftovers so his daughter could have breakfast. She didn't know the weight he carried. And she didn't need to. She had already decided who he was. "Ma'am," Ryan said, voice steady. "Let's keep this professional." "Professional," she barked. You're a waiter. Don't pretend you're anything more." Sophie took a step forward, whispering urgently. "Marcus, do something." Marcus shook his head. "If I step in now, it becomes a scene. We need her to stop on her own." But Victoria wasn't stopping. She shoved her chair back abruptly, the legs screeching across the floor. The entire table flinched. The investors glanced at each other, realizing the situation had spiraled far outside the boundaries of a typical bad customer encounter. She stepped around the table, heels striking the floor like accusations. "Let's test something," she said. "Let's see how well you follow instructions." Ryan stiffened, waiting. "Get on your knees and apologize," she ordered. Gasps rippled across the dining room. One investor dropped his fork. Another muttered, "She's lost it." Ryan breathed once, deeply. No. The word was quiet, controlled, final. And it was enough to snap the last thread of whatever self-control she had left. Victoria swung her hand toward his face, fast and furious. But his body moved before his mind did, years of training snapping into motion. His hand rose, catching her wrist midair with a gentle but unbreakable grip. No force, no aggression, just a wall her anger couldn't penetrate. Someone whispered, "Did he just?" Victoria's eyes widened in disbelief. She yanked her arm back, furious. "You assaulted me," she screamed, loud enough that the chandeliers quivered. The entire table recoiled. The pearl-earring investor finally spoke, voice shaking. "Victoria, he didn't lay a hand on you except to stop you." "Oh, you're all taking his side now," she snapped. "You think he's innocent. Look at him. He's aggressive." Ryan remained where he was, hands open, posture neutral. "I'm not here to fight, ma'am," he said. But that only made her angrier. She lunged again, this time with a clumsy kick aimed at his stomach. Ryan stepped aside with practiced precision, guiding her shin away from him with the slightest touch. She stumbled forward, catching herself on the edge of the table. Crystal glasses rattled. One investor pushed his chair back, ready to flee. "Victoria, stop," he begged. But she didn't. Her humiliation was now louder than her reason. He charged. Her nails slashed toward his face. Her breath ragged. Her hair falling out of its perfect ponytail. Rage had consumed whatever image she'd worked years to build. Ryan sidestepped again, using her momentum to redirect her. One hand touched her shoulder, not pushing, just guiding, and her foot caught the leg of a chair. He toppled. The sound of her hitting the marble floor echoed like a closing door. The entire restaurant went silent. Victoria slowly lifted herself, breath shaking. Her dress wrinkled, her palms scraped, her expression unraveling. She looked around for someone, anyone, to validate the version of events she was trying to hold together. Richard, the silver-haired investor, stood. "I'm done," he said. "This is humiliating for all of us." He turned to the others. "Let's go." Phones recorded as the group abandoned her. "No, don't leave." "He attacked me," she shrieked, but her voice cracked. Sophie stepped forward, no longer afraid. "You attacked him. We all saw it." Marcus approached next. "Ma'am, please leave before this gets worse. We have the footage." Victoria's face drained of color. "Footage?" "Yes," Marcus said. "Everything." The room was a courtroom now, and she was the only one without a defense. "You'll regret this," she spat at Ryan. "I'll ruin you." Ryan didn't respond. He didn't need to. The power she'd wielded moments ago had evaporated, slipping through her fingers like water. Security escorted her out, struggling against her protests, her threats, her wild accusations that no longer convinced anyone. When the doors finally closed behind her, the room exhaled as one. Sophie approached Ryan. "You okay?" "Yes," he said softly. "I'm okay." But the truth was more complicated. Relief mixed with dread. He knew what would come next. Attention, questions, consequences. What he didn't expect was how fast it would spread. Within hours, the video was online. Within a day, it was everywhere. Headlines called her behavior abusive. Outrage erupted in comments and news feeds. And slowly, piece by piece, Victoria's empire cracked. Investors withdrew. Partnerships dissolved. Her own board issued a statement condemning her conduct. The woman who humiliated others for sport was now drowning in the fallout she built with her own hands. But the final blow came from the state regulatory board reviewing her company. They opened an investigation into her business dealings, something long overdue, according to anonymous sources. And as the inquiry deepened, the world learned the truth. Her cruelty wasn't an isolated incident. It was a pattern. A pattern that cost her every ounce of power she once used as a weapon. On the day her company voted to remove her, security walked her out of the building, the same way she'd been escorted out of the restaurant. Cameras recorded. Reporters crowded. Her face, once the symbol of elitist control, now trembled beneath the weight of her downfall. And as she disappeared behind tinted glass, the world knew. She didn't just lose a position. She lost the empire she built on fear. A fitting consequence. Perfect symmetry. A villain finally facing the truth she thought she was above. And this moment right here, was only the beginning of her reckoning. 'Cause what happened next made the whole world cheer. In the weeks that followed, Ryan found a rhythm he hadn't felt in years. Teaching at the gym wasn't just a job. It became a place where the pieces of his past finally made sense. He trained beginners, guided teenagers who reminded him of his younger self, and discovered that strength meant more when it lifted others. Emma watched him with wide, proud eyes, as if seeing her father clearly for the first time. News about the incident faded, but its impact didn't. People reached out with messages of support, and for the first time, Ryan allowed himself to believe he deserved every word. Victoria's downfall drifted through headlines, quiet now, almost distant, while his life grew steadier, shaped by choices he made on his own terms. He didn't celebrate what happened to her, but he understood something he hadn't before. Truth doesn't need to shout. It waits, and when the moment comes, it stands on its own. One evening, as he locked up the gym, he caught his reflection in the glass door. Not a man hiding from old shadows, but someone stepping into a life he had built through patience and dignity. It was enough. If this story touched you, please like the video, share it with someone who needs it, and support Canada's Heartfelt Tales by subscribing. Your kindness helps every story find its way home.